Hello everyone! So I don't really know what this video is going to be, other than a rant, I suppose. It is the middle of August right now, brands are starting to sneak peek their holiday launches, and honestly, I am just not impressed. I am so deflated with some of the makeup launches lately that I really just want to sit here and trash talk some of them. I've seen so many launches that are coming up or out right now that are just boring or regurgitations, and I'm not feeling it, and it's making me sad because I like to be excited about makeup, but there's so many things right now that I'm just like, why are you even bothering putting this out? I suppose these kinds of video types used to be called like an anti-haul, you know, where you kind of talk yourself out of buying a product, or a little bit in line with the will I buy it videos that are interesting, you know, where people talk about like current makeup products and whether or not they're worth purchasing. But I mean, everything I'm going to talk about in this video is something that I have no desire to purchase, and I really just want to like talk about how terrible they are. You may or may not agree with everything that I have to say, but I've got some feelings about some of the products that are coming out, and I just want to put them out there. Number one, we're going to talk about Too Faced. This makes me so sad. So many of you may know that I used to buy so much from Too Faced. Every palette they put out was so interesting to me in the last few years that I was just like, yes, absolutely gonna buy it. I love the Tutti Frutti collection. I love the Peaches collection. The white peach was a little bit of a nah. But the chocolate bar collection, or all the series of collections that they've had, there was so much good stuff from Too Faced, and then now lately I'm just like, what are you doing? What happened? Starting with, this pains me so much, the Gingerbread Extra Spicy Eyeshadow Palette. All right, so I'm gonna move over here so I can put some pictures of what I'm talking about over here. So the Gingerbread Extra Spicy Eyeshadow Palette. Ugh. This irritates me so much because last year when they first came out with the Gingerbread Spice eyeshadow palette, I was freaking excited. I was so excited that they relaunched it back in July because not enough people got their hands on it last Christmas time, and it's one of my favorite palettes, hands down, that I own. I think it's a phenomenal product. The colors are good, the quality is good, and it's something new and exciting from Too Faced. So I figured that they were gonna do something exciting this year as well. And then they put this thing up, and I'm like, what? You just rehashed the product from last year, but took all the fun out of it? Like, there's no red or spicy colors in here. Like, there's that one sort of like coral shade, deep coral shade at the bottom row, and then like kind of the orange in the middle. And then there's that pop of blue, which is probably a duochrome shift. If you look at it, it might be one of those blue browns. But I mean, take those colors out, and this is so bland. It's so boring. And they called it extra spicy. What are you talking about? There's no spice in this. It's literally, somebody said to me, it's like they vacuumed out all the fun from the original palette and you were left with this. And I totally agree. This is like the leftover dust bunnies. This is awful. I mean, at this point in time, I should not be surprised that Too Faced is recycling things for the holidays. Their palette collections for the holidays over the years have definitely been regurgitated stuff. But I don't know, Gingerbread Spice last year excited me so much that I was like, yeah, I can't wait for 2019. Yeah, well, they can keep this. I don't want anything to do with this. It's so terrible looking. So that one's out in September if you're interested in purchasing that one, but I'm not gonna be picking it up. There's a new one that's out soon-ish. It's called the Palm Springs Dreams palette. And it's in the original like peaches and cream palette packaging, so I don't know if they just used the old mold for the actual packaging or if they've like recovered over one of their older palettes, because I've seen brands do that before. But this one just, I mean, this could be like the Gingerbread Extra Spicy light version. Because if you look at it, it's got that orange color that's in the Extra Spicy palette, and it's got that darkish blue that may be a duochrome in the bottom corner as well. And then the rest of the shades basically fit in that Gingerbread Extra Spicy palette. It's just like a pared down version of it. It's so bland to me. And I suppose a lot of people are going to point out that, you know, Too Faced has done a lot of neutral and boring-ish palettes for quite a long time, and I kind of agree. but they've also put out some really interesting palettes over the years. Both palettes in the Tutti Frutti collection were very different for them. I mean, there's that purple palette, which was wild. That thing was just really good. But then they had the more neutral tone palette, but it had an interesting green shifting duochrome in there. And then there was 2 other shades in there that I found very unique. They're gold, and I think like the patina like silver color were especially unique. And then if you think back, like the peaches and cream matte palette, that was so good and so different for them. And then they put out something like this, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure you just took a whole bunch of holiday palettes and grabbed a few shadows from each of them and just dumped them into this thing. And this is supposed to fit into the peaches and cream range, but I don't get the theme. Like, Palm Springs Dreams? How does that fit with peaches? Like, at all. So I'm definitely not into that thing. And then we're just gonna continue down the Too Faced train for a while, because I've got a lot of stuff coming out that I don't care an iota about. This other one, I think, what is this? Oh, it's part of the Tutti Frutti collection. It's the palette that I'm looking at in this picture. And this is just, it's a mess. It's just a total mess. Who wants a palette that's shaped like this? Number one, that is a mess to use. Like, and I think they like attach together and you can pull them apart. So that's just horrible. And the only fun color really in this palette is that sort of like green, potentially a little bit blue shadow at the bottom. But the rest of it is like, it's just boring. It's just boring, regurgitated Too Faced over and over again. And it's sad too that this is in the Tutti Frutti launch or collection, because again, as I've already said, those 2 palettes from the original Tutti Frutti launch were so good that this one pales in comparison to it. All right, lastly from Too Faced, and this is hands down the worst that I have seen from them lately. So we knew more stuff from Too Faced was coming from the holidays, because they put out like, I think 4 or 5 palettes for the holidays. So this isn't really a surprise to see. However, the construction of it is a little bit weird. So the outer packaging is cool. That's kind of interesting. You know, it's pretty. I'm not huge on pink, but it's a cute outer packaging. It's called Christmas Star. Okay, sweet. And then you look at what it actually opens up to. And I was just, when I posted this on Instagram stories, I was swearing, because I was just like, this is awful. First of all, nobody wants to deal with a star palette, like in the actual shape of a star. I don't want to have to open this up on my desk to use it, where it's going to be knocking everything over because it shoots out at weird angles. And it's not really like you're just gonna open 1 or 2 flaps. In order to see all of the eyeshadows, you have to open all of the flaps. So now you've got all your flaps open, sure, fine. I'm sure there's highlighters and blushes, and it looks like 1 bronzer in here. But they're all in awkward shaped pans, including the eyeshadows. Look at how tiny those triangular eyeshadow pans are. Do you know how irritating it's going to be to put your brush in there? I don't care if you're using a flat brush and you want to pull down, or if you're using a fluffy brush to swirl around, although that would probably be easier. That's a mess. It doesn't even look cute when it's open, which is just terrible. You've made this star-shaped palette and it's just cumbersome to use. Like, aside from young preteens, I don't think anybody really wants this kind of thing. And the shades in here don't look interesting either. I mean, the quality of this photo is pretty terrible, but you're mostly just getting a whole whack of neutrals and like 1 blue or turquoise color and 1 purple. And that's pretty much it in terms of colors. I mean, I want to say kudos to you for trying something new and not just doing one of those like flip open cardboard packaging products that you've been putting out for the holidays for a long while, but this is just like, you went too far. You should have stopped to think about how no one can use this practically. Like, look at the size of the woman's hand in comparison to this palette. This thing is going to be massive. This is completely unusable. Okay, moving on from Too Faced, I'm going to talk about the new Urban Decay Honey palette. And when I initially saw the outer packaging, it's all this kind of like gold foiled looking lusciousness. Like, it really looks like somebody dipped, like, you know, one of those honey stir sticks down into a pot of honey and then pulled it out, and the swirls are just coming off the packaging. It looks delightful. And then I saw the inside colors and I was like, what have you done? So I get that it's primarily a honey themed palette. That's the purpose of this. And honey, while we tend to think of yellow, honey's not that yellow. Fine, I get it. But yellow's pretty hot right now in makeup. And I feel like this whole idea of the naked palettes just really needs to come to a close at this point, because I'm tired of it. And I don't feel like this palette is making that many people happy. There's only two colors that are sort of no, there's only one. The one shade called Honey is the most interesting color in there, and it's mostly because it's kind of a gold with a green tinge, which is very unique, I think, especially for Urban Decay recently. But the rest of the colors all around it are just like medium ochre-ish brown tinged yellow colors, and I'm not feeling it. I get it. Again, I get it. It's the naked themed palettes. They have to do a little bit more of a muted brown thing. But Urban Decay for me, for so many years, was electrifying colors. It was grungy aesthetic. It was something unique and interesting. But they've started to make bank with this whole naked series, and they've just lost their way for me, and it makes me sad. It really just makes me sad. This is not, for me, a good representation of what Urban Decay is as a brand. But that's where they are now, and that's where they've been since the Urban Decay Naked original palette launch. So, I mean, maybe I just need to accept that and move on. But I just found this whole palette so deflating, especially since the outer packaging is so beautiful. It's that gilded honey look. Then you open it up and you're like, what happened here, guys? Like, what? Why? So yeah, I'm not that enthusiastic about that. But you know, it's funny. Sometimes I get an Urban Decay Naked palette that I think is not going to be interesting, because I am occasionally on their PR list. I was sent, I think, Naked Cherry and then Reloaded. And both of those I was kind of like, but I really liked Reloaded. So, I mean, for all I know, this might actually be nice to use, but I'm not interested in the color scheme just by looking at the palette. The next one I'm going to talk about is one by Anastasia Beverly Hills and Jackie Aina. I do really enjoy watching Jackie's videos. I find her very funny, really. I think she's just an interesting, unique person to watch. And I was so surprised that she managed to put out this palette with ABH and it never got leaked. Like, I could not believe when she posted her video, it was like, hey guys, it's out tomorrow. I was like, what? Nobody heard about this thing. So I watched her whole video on the palette, and I did like her discussion of the colors and the shade range and why it's better for deeper skin tone people. And honestly, the shade range itself doesn't bother me any. I don't care that people seem to think it's too dark of a palette. I don't think it's too dark. I could easily wear this thing without any issue. But the thing that made me so sad about this palette is that when I saw the outer holographic packaging, I was like, oh, I can't wait to see what's on the inside. But just like that Becca volcanic palette, the outside does not represent what's on the inside, not even remotely. In both cases, the outer packaging looks like a beautiful rainbow, and then you look at what's on the inside and you're like, why did I get misled? Why did you lead me to believe that this was potentially going to be a rainbow palette? So, I mean, the shades are fine fundamentally, but based on the palette packaging, it's not what I was expecting at all. And it's funny to me because in the video, she was talking about how it's a colorful palette, and I was just like, no, it's not. No, it's not. So I've seen some people put together some really beautiful looks with it. So, I mean, I'm not begrudging what she chose for the palette, but I don't see it as a colorful palette, and it's not necessarily up my alley. That being said, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who are gonna get some awesome looks out of it, but I was just like, the packaging really misled me, and because of that, it just left me with a sour taste in my mouth. All right, I'm gonna talk about one last thing, because really a video like this could just go on forever because there's so many things that I'm not impressed with. But this one just made me laugh when I first saw it posted. I think this was on Beauty News Official. I either look at Beauty News Official on Instagram or Trend Mood for upcoming stuff. So this is, I guess, the latest from Kylie Cosmetics. I don't really follow anything to do with Kylie or the Kardashians or anything like that, just because I find them kind of repulsive as a family, really. But when I first saw this picture of her birthday collection palette, I guess it's called You're So Money Baby. Ugh, also vomit, gross. When I first saw this palette promoted, I thought it was either a Sigma palette or I thought it was a Too Faced palette. Number one, Too Faced, because it's got so much pink in it. It's got that like super pink Too Faced colors that they always tend to incorporate into their palettes. But then when I look closer at the shapes of the pans, I was like, hey, this reminds me of some like older Sigma palettes. So honestly, my initial laughter at this palette was just on the fact that somebody tried to create something unique, and my initial reaction was that it was like either Too Faced or Sigma. Like, I did not think that it was Kylie Cosmetics. The colors in there are somewhat interesting. I think the only one I'm interested in is that like shiny green on the bottom. I don't really go for pink shadow, so this isn't really for me. But also just the fact that like this collection's called like You're So Money. Oh, it's just horrible. Like, I just noticed that she's wearing like an outfit that's supposed to represent like $100 bill or something. Oh, gross. This kind of product and this kind of family just isn't really for me. It just kind of grosses me out. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna leave it there. Those are just some of the products that I've seen that are coming out lately that have left me feeling really deflated by the beauty industry, I guess. I just feel like there's so many products that are coming out that we've done better before, that there are things that I own that are way more interesting than anything new that's coming out. So I don't know, I'm feeling that lull in the makeup community right now, and it's just because nothing's interesting me. Like, literally the only brand out there that is putting out things that I'm remotely interested in is ColourPop. So that's gonna be it for this video. I don't know if this is an anti-haul, if this is just trash talking products or what. Hopefully you found this interesting. Let me know how you're feeling about some makeup launches lately, because I can't be the only one who's feeling like this. Thanks so much for watching today's video, and I will see you next time. Bye.